back to the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube. Welcome back to Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Zuckerberg Burkle, here with the host today, Aaron. Go and say hi, Aaron.
Hi.
All right, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into it. So, in this video, we'll be taking a look at the Atlanta Falcons off-season situation. And let me tell you, folks, it's pretty enviable right now. They have set themselves up pretty nicely to make some really substantial improvements to this roster. Obviously, they already kind of had a plethora of offensive weapons. They just kind of needed a dude to steer the ship under center. That's been the big sticking point for Atlanta recently. Kind of going with a mixture of Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke last season. Didn't work out very well for them. I think they hovered around 500 all year, but inevitably ended up missing the playoffs, which with the weapons they had on offense is just kind of inexcusable in my opinion. A lot of blame I feel like has to go on Arthur Smith, so moving on from him I think is the right move. However, I was a little surprised at the person they brought in. Who was it? Oh shoot, what was his name? The Rams guy, right? Isn't that who they brought in? The Rams assistant. I want to say,
Oh,
I want to say it was the Rams DC. Atlanta Falcons. Raheem Morris. Yeah, he was I believe he was the defensive coordinator, which is why it's kind of puzzling to me because I feel like you would have wanted. Although I understand maybe having PTSD from bringing in Arthur Smith, the last OC you hired, it's a little bit concerning. So I could understand maybe that being the reason you went with Raheem. And I'm honestly just kind of stalling to check my bases and make sure he was a defensive coordinator, and I'm not stupid. But yeah, defensive coordinator, cool. Anyway, back to the Falcons. Um, yeah, they have really good amount of cap space to work with. Over 40 million in cap space to work with. Basically, their entire offense is locked in except for the quarterback. Um, and honestly, if you look at it, basically the entire defense is locked in. So there's really not a lot of holes in this roster per se, as far as like free agents they're losing. What do you think is kind of your first impressions of this Falcons team right now?
I mean, kind of like you said, they need that franchise face, the figurehead of the offense,
Head of the
um,
snake.
somebody to kind of to lead them, and they've got several interesting options that they could do this off season.
They do.
They could try and draft someone. They could um, you brought up earlier maybe trade for Justin Fields from the Bears. That could be a good one. They could potentially sign Kirk Cousins. I've been hearing some rumors of that.
In my opinion, I think their best option, assuming Jayden. Now, the problem with this is you probably can't wait till after the draft to trade for Justin Fields. If they're trading for Justin Fields, it'll probably happen before April 25th. Um, because what I was going to suggest is maybe for some reason Jayden Daniels falls to them, or they're able to jump up a few spots. Maybe maybe trade with the Chargers because if the Chargers want Brock Bowers, he's probably going to be there at 8. So maybe the Chargers trade down a few spots, gain an extra draft pick or two for the Falcons to jump up to 5. If Jayden Daniels doesn't go to New England or Washington, he sure as heck probably isn't going to Arizona. All of a sudden, if you're sitting there at as the Falcons at 5, you can get Jayden Daniels. I think that's a better option than Justin Fields. But because Justin Fields is probably going to be traded before April 25th, you're kind of stuck with like, do we risk it? Do we take him? Because I think no matter what, Justin Fields is going to be on a different team April 25th. Whether it's the Falcons, the Steelers, maybe the Vikings get weird. Uh, he's probably out of Chicago before the draft. So is it better to go with the what you would hope is more of a surefire thing with Justin Fields, where like you obviously you're as far as like you're going to get him, or do you roll the dice and maybe see if you can jump up and snag Daniels? I don't know. What do you if, in that hypothetical situation? Which do you think you would take?
I would lean taking Justin Fields because I can't conceivably
You don't think
in
he's
my
falling?
head picture Jaden Daniels falling. No. I mean, unless New England trades out with someone else
Just maybe
who
in
doesn't
that
need a
person,
quarterback.
yeah, and that person takes Marvin
Yeah.
Harrison just steal him from Arizona, yeah, which is possible. How crazy would it be if the Giants trade up to 3 just to take Marvin Harrison Jr.?
They would be idiots. I
That
mean,
would
not because they're drafting Marvin Harrison Jr., but because they're not taking a quarterback.
they're jumping up to 3 to do so. Yeah, that'd be funny. But um, yeah, few different quarterback options. Another one you mentioned was Kirk Cousins. Um, Not the same level of veteran that Russell Wilson is. Hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Hasn't won a Super Bowl. Has not been a Super Bowl MVP. But has been more consistent the last 2 seasons than Russ has been, even given the Achilles injury. Before that, he was same old Kirk Cousins. He's gonna give you a lot of yards. He's gonna give you a decent amount of touchdowns. He's gonna throw some really really poorly timed interceptions. Um, and that's just the Kirk Cousins way, baby. So if Atlanta wants to go with that, that's definitely an option for them. They've got the cap space to do so. And I think all it would really take is them offering more money than Minnesota. I think that's really all it would take to outbid, like to persuade Kirk Cousins. Is I As much as Kirk loves Minnesota and loves the Vikings, I think if the Falcons just gave him a little bit more, he'd look down there, be like, "Damn, that might be a better opportunity to win a Super Bowl," and jump ship.
Why do you say that?
Why do I think that's a better opportunity to win a Super Bowl?
Yeah,
Oh, you got better running back, better tight end. I think if you add up the
better tight
receiving,
end.
oh, I guess they do have. Well, I don't know. When's Hawkinson coming back? Didn't he tear his ACL?
I don't know. Did he?
I think so. I could be wrong about that. Um, but I did forget Hawkinson was up there, so that is my bad. If Hawkinson's there, then not better
And
tight end.
and the best receiver in the league.
You do have the best receiver in the league in Minnesota. You have a really, really good receiving core in Atlanta with a much better defense.
Do you think the overall receiving core is better in Atlanta or Minnesota? Because Drake London, I mean, yeah, they've got some big names coming out of the draft these last few years, but
Right.
they haven't really done anything. Now, granted, part of that is because of
I
the
think,
quarterback
yeah,
situation, but then you look at Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson out there in Minnesota, and you got to be like,
that's true. No, that's true.
those two alone might be might not just be better.
Yeah, I don't think the receiving core alone is better than Minnesota. I think the team is better than Minnesota though. Like if take the quarterback out of each team, I think Minnesota or Atlanta has a better team than Minnesota overall. Talking defense, offense, special teams, the whole nine. Because Atlanta also has like top 5 kicker in the league in Young Ho
I'm
Cooper.
just thinking,
And I think Atlanta's defense is much better than Minnesota's.
I don't know.
I think it's close for sure.
I do think it's close.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean Minnesota's defense has been nothing special his last couple of years.
right, right. And a lot of that I think does have to do with the players aging. But nevertheless, you got to replace those players. So that is an issue. Atlanta's got a better cap situation too. So you would also think that if you're Kirk Cousins, you come in, you're like, oh, then they can get a couple other guys. They also have a higher draft pick. Be like, oh, they can get a stud at 8. So yeah, I think if you take into account the entire
Easier
situation,
division.
easier division as well. Yeah, you only really have to go 9-8 to win. Maybe 10-7, but you don't have to win. And you don't have Green Bay. You don't have Detroit now. You don't have maybe Caleb Williams in Chicago. Uh, the NFC North is one of the tougher divisions in football, while the NFC South is one of the weakest divisions in football. So, and you also have the perk of staying in the NFC, which is probably the weaker conference between the two right now, with only, the San Francisco 49ers being the consistent mainstay. Um, the rest of the teams have been either up and down, or they're the ones that are coming up are really young. So, yeah, I think if you take into account everything, I think Atlanta is slightly better situation, and the weather.
Ah, you got me. You got the weather.
The weather, baby. But yeah, so in my opinion, I think all it would take is a little bit more money than what Minnesota's giving him for Kirk to bounce. And then I was thinking, was there another option we had, or was it just Fields, Kirk,
Wilson.
draft? Oh, Russ, and then draft a guy. Yeah, that'd be the other option. Draft a guy at 8. Um, you assume, let's assume those top 3 guys are gone. You would presumptuously, presumptively, whatever,
Presumptively.
whatever the word is, have your choice of the next, quarterback if you take one at 8. Um, who do you think's the best guy for Atlanta? Penix, Nix, McCarthy, Rattler,
Penix.
Penix. I agree.
Penix.
Yeah, that's
Penix is
probably
like
right.
the fourth, at lowest, fourth best quarterback in this draft, in my opinion.
Yeah, and you've had that opinion for a while. You're big on Penix. You think, I mean, you love penis. I mean Penix.
Spit it out of
No,
your mouth.
yeah, I gotta get it out. That's a good one. Yeah, no, you've been a big proponent of Penix for a while now, so I'm not super surprised you were to say that. Uh, you're probably right. He's probably the best fit because he's got the biggest arm out of the 3 for sure. Um, and like you said, probably the best accuracy. I think he's got the most toughness, at least the most toughness that we've been able to see out of any of the guys. Because McCarthy's kind of at a cakewalk his whole career. Bo Nix has been in the Pac-12, which I guess Penix has too. Now that I think about it, but
Well, Bo Nix started at Auburn.
that's true. He did start in the SEC and he got bullied, got beat up. So we've seen what happens down there. Penix started off in the Big Ten and moved over to the Pac-12 himself. I don't know. I just can't get that national championship game out of my head where he was just getting walloped, and I mean just like meleeed every single play. It seemed like, and the dude just kept getting up and kept throwing the damn ball and taking hits. He didn't give a shit. So,
And that was probably by far his worst game accuracy wise of the
oh
season.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so he showed me a lot in that game because I probably had him below Bo Nix before even the Natty. Like even going into the Natty, I probably had Bo Nix ahead of him, and I think that little extra there in what was probably one of the toughest moments for him as a football player may have shown, you know, his greatest attribute. So yeah, I think I probably also agree Penix is the guy if they're going to draft somebody. But we'll just have to wait and see because they've got several options at their disposal. So, unless you got anything else, I think that'll do it for this episode of the most unprofessional sports channel on YouTube, Swivel Chair Sports. I'm your host, Zach Zuckerberg Burkle, here at the coast today. Aaron, don't say bye. All right, please make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Other than that, deuces.